Welcome back. Hi, I'm Dan Perry and this is my Masters of Science dissertation, The Hiding Curriculum Towards the Development of LGBTQ Curriculum in Higher Education. Today we're exploring my dissertation title and why I've called it The Hiding Curriculum rather than The Hidden Curriculum, or as this presentation is called, Hidden Curriculum versus Hiding Curriculum, an explanation of a title. So I'm just going to do a very quick overview of what we're covering and we'll move on. So Michael Apple in his book Ideology and Curriculum, The Hidden Curriculum in Action, Conflicts and Society and Conflict in Academic Communities, and then we conclude. So first, just a little background on Michael Apple. This is his book, Ideology and Curriculum, and this is him, the man himself. He's an educational theorist that specialised in education, power, cultural politics, curriculum theory and research, critical teaching and the development of democratic schools. He is the John Bascom Professor Emeritus of Curriculum and Instruction and Educational Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the School of Education, where he taught from the 1970s to 2018. He has taught in elementary or primary schools if you're British, and secondary schools in New Jersey where he grew up, and he's also served as the president of his teachers' union. Apple describes the hidden curriculum as the norms and values of society that are covertly taught through schooling. The hidden curriculum, he argues, is taught throughout a person's schooling life, starting from the earliest experience of schooling right through to university level. Apple believes the hidden curriculum sets the ideological thinking through what is seen as appropriate ways of reasoning. Schools present seemingly common sense rules and knowledge that creates a consensus in society. To achieve this consensus, it requires a continual reinforcement that is sustained through the individual's life of schooling. As the individual ages and learns more, justifications for these social rules become more complex and refined. The covert rules learned at school are then recreated, reproduced and rejustified until they become common sense assumptions. The hidden curriculum covertly teaches meritocracy to reward those who do not question power relations through the fear of punishment. Apple believes that marketplace ethics are installed into the individual to uphold the middle classes and effectively creating and recreating social stratification. Apple proposes ideological conflict as a concept to challenge the hidden curriculum throughout the schooling system, which I will now talk about. However, before moving on to conflict, I thought we'd look at the hidden curriculum in action. Apple uses a metaphor of a chessboard to describe how the hidden curriculum limits thinking in society. Imagine the chessboard with the perimeter of the board surrounded with barbed wire. The barbed wire represents the boundaries of thinking within the hidden curriculum, and the hidden curriculum is represented by the board. The board itself has pieces on it, but there are rules about which way, how far, and what the pieces can and cannot do. The pieces represent the individual who moves within society. The players have choices which keep the individual happy about how they move across the board, but these are limited by the hidden rules of society. To win in society, you must comply with these rules and respect the boundaries of ideological thinking. However, because the hidden curriculum has been implanted into our thinking, we don't actually notice when we're playing by these rules. They become assumptions. It's only when something unexpected, like a car swerving on the wrong side of the road, do people take notice in their conscious minds that there are hidden rules. As Apple argues, social norms are learned through schooling, and boundaries are constructed to establish what is seen as acceptable in society. These are then internalized and become assumptions. Apple proposes ideological conflict as a concept to challenge the hidden curriculum throughout the schooling system, which I will now talk about. We now move on to conflict in society. Apple believes that most literature that originates in social sciences views society as a cooperative system. This is because the hidden curriculum determines that conflict is a negative occurrence. Through the idea of happy cooperation in society, academics determine which questions are asked for their students. For society to smoothly function, internal disagreements and societal conflict are strongly discouraged through the hidden curriculum. This discourages the possibility of creating new values in society, and emphasis is placed on value transition and recreating, which encourages hegemony and structural functionalism. Structural functionalism are background assumptions from the hidden curriculum that present a one-dimensional view of society rather than the actual complexity. Structural functionalism avoids the subject of conflict and political tensions. It presents stability and happy cooperation as the only way to live in society, which occurs as long as justification of power ultimately does not change. Structural functionalism attempts to always resolve conflict within the accepted boundaries of society. The basis of structural functionalism in society is to legitimize and recreate social order which emphasizes conformity and a denial that conflict is needed. Apple notes that some academics already reject the structural functional paradigm, structural functionalism, that is, paradigm, and view conflict as part of the constant flux of societal change. Academics who oppose structural functionalism believe that it requires a transformation of the self and their academic activities, and this will eventually lead to structural change in society. Apple believes the absence of conflict as a conceptual paradigm in schooling is problematic and does not reflect the academic community, particularly in higher education. The academic community in higher education is largely based on positivist ideals. These are scientific works that use data based on accepted standards of validity, which include being unbiased and having empirical verification. However, some academics argue that it's impossible to be unbiased with the data, and this must be acknowledged in their work. Because the hidden curriculum covertly teaches marketplace ideals, it results in academics placing higher value on statistics to prove their arguments. Therefore, Apple believes that higher education is not immune to the hidden curriculum. However, when a new paradigm does surface, it begins an intellectual and interpersonal conflict. Apple names this a conceptual revolution, a paradigm that requires academics to reorganize and reconceptualize previously held structures, arguments, and ideas. It's important to briefly explain how Apple views competition in higher education and how this functions. Apple believes that competition, which leads to conflict, is a positive factor on the creation of new paradigms. Competitive pressures can sometimes help less popular research areas that were previously neglected come to the surface and be discussed. Apple reasons that because competition is high, it encourages academics to make more theoretical risks in their work, and this expands the subject as a consequence. Specialists develop within these larger traditional subject fields that challenge dominant ideas and become a separate field as a result. When this occurs, conflict is very high and heated discussions and debates occur, creating interest within the subject area. Competition between academics then leads to the specialist academics recruiting students to validate their new and emerging ideas. In turn, this creates more students writing and engaging with the new ideas. The more students academics can recruit, the more prestigious the area becomes, the more students it attracts. Apple believes that by introducing conflict theory as a conceptual paradigm earlier, students will be able to develop a positive attitude to conflict. This would help individuals with the complexity of repressive political realities and challenge boundaries of thinking in society, like the hidden curriculum. You may now have realised that through the ideas of hidden curriculum, I've deliberately decided to do an extended literature review rather than perpetuate the hidden curriculum by doing a more traditional, scientific, positivist model, which is expected of university students. You may also have some understanding of why I've not used the hidden curriculum now, and it's because LGBTQ+ curriculum is just merely hiding. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon with the next presentation on my theoretical lens, querying curriculum, interruptions, disruptions, gaps and silences.